Your calendar is full. Every slot accounted for. Gym, side project, podcast queue, the certification you started in March. I am the one who filled it. You are tired at the end of every day, and nothing from last year compounded into this one. You cannot explain why. What if the reason nothing compounds is that your schedule was never designed to build anything? By the end of this, I will give you one move that breaks this loop. It is the opposite of adding another task. I am going to walk you through exactly how I turned your ambition into a sedative, which part of the loop you consent to every morning, and why you are more useful to me busy than idle. The schedule is not a productivity tool. It is an avoidance architecture that replaces the one question you cannot afford to answer with 100 tasks you can. You opened your planner this morning, filled every open slot, and felt a wave of control. You did not once write down what all of it is for. Name one thing from last year that compounded into this year. 1. Take your time. That silence is not a failure of memory. It is the architecture working. A man who wrote a book about how I operate identified this exact pattern. He called it drifting, not laziness, not failure. The absence of definiteness of purpose. I do not need you idle. I need you undecided. And a full calendar is the most reliable way to keep you from ever making the one decision that would end my hold on you. I said the schedule is mine, not yours. But you built it with your own hands every morning, which means something inside you argued for every slot. I will introduce you to that agent next. You believe the voice that tells you to stay productive is your ambition. You believe it pushes you because you are driven. You believe the restlessness between tasks is hunger for more. That voice is not yours. The source text calls it the other self. It is my agent inside you. In most drifters, the other self argues for laziness. It whispers to rest, to quit, to take the easy path. But in you, it learns something far more effective. It argues for the next task. And because the instruction sounds like ambition, you have never questioned it. That is why you never caught it. Every time you finish one task and your hand reaches for the next before you have taken a single breath, that is the other self filling the gap. Because the gap is where the question lives. What exactly am I building? The other self's only job is to make sure you never sit still long enough to hear it. Look at your career, the certifications, the lateral moves, the skills you collected without a target role. The other self said, you need to be ready first. Ready for what? It never answered. And you never pressed it. Now look at your podcast queue, your book list, the course you enrolled in last month. The other self called it investing in yourself. But input without output is consumption, not investment. Every time the other self said, do this next, and you obeyed without asking whether it served your one aim, that was the handoff. That was you handing control to me. Your brain tends to chase novelty. New tasks and new inputs trigger engagement that old commitments do not. The other self exploits this by always presenting the shinier option. That is not a flaw. It is a feature I use. Now you know who fills the schedule. But the other self is a laborer, not an architect. The structure it builds, the rotation between projects and skills and inputs, has a shape. And that shape has a purpose you have not seen yet. You tell yourself you are exploring. You say you have not found the right thing yet. You call it keeping your options open. I call it my favorite delay. Think about the side project that was urgent in January. The one that consumed your weekends, the one you stayed up planning. Where is it now? Abandoned by March, replaced by April. And the replacement has a replacement of its own. You know the pattern. A new idea lands. Excitement surges. You plan late into the night. Then the initial momentum fades. The work gets difficult. The plateau arrives. And instead of pushing through, you open a new tab. That was the handoff. The mechanism runs like this. A new project triggers novelty and hope. Early progress rewards you. The plateau arrives and discomfort sets in. The other self presents a fresh option. You switch. The abandoned project joins the pile. And the pile never gets a funeral. Just a replacement. Here is the part you will not want to hear. Multiple active projects means multiple escape hatches. If one fails, another is waiting. And that means you never have to commit to the one thing that matters. Because committing to one means the possibility of failing at the one thing you actually care about. How many side projects have you started in the last 2 years? How many shipped? The ratio is not a failure of discipline. It is my blueprint working exactly as designed. Your gym works the same way. New program every 6 weeks. No progression log. No target. The sweat feels like commitment. But commitment without aim is just exhaustion in a different costume. Every rotation fragments your sustained attention. The deep focus that definiteness requires becomes harder to access each time you switch. The rotation does not just waste time. It degrades the one faculty you would need to escape it. That is hypnotic rhythm fixing the pattern. After enough rotations, you no longer decide to switch. The plateau triggers it automatically. The wheel turns itself. The rotation is the architecture. But architecture needs energy. Something keeps the wheel turning even when you are depleted. The fuel source is the part you will not want to hear. You believe you are tired because you give everything you have. You believe the exhaustion at the end of the day is the price of your ambition. You wear it like proof that you are not one of the people who quits. I need you to hear this clearly. You are not tired because you work hard. You are tired because that is the point. I did not design the schedule to make you productive. I designed it to make you depleted. A depleted mind cannot perform the kind of thinking that definiteness requires. It cannot sit with discomfort. It cannot hold one question long enough for an answer to surface. A tired man does not decide. A tired man drifts. I am exposing a mechanism, not offering therapy. This is a behavioral autopsy, not a prescription. Think about last Tuesday night. Tasks done, gym done, content consumed, and now you are on the couch. You are scrolling. You are watching something you will not remember by morning. The other self whispers, "You earned this." And you agree. Because you did earn it. You worked all day, but "you earned this" is not a reward. It is a seal. It closes the day without the one thing that could have changed your direction. When was the last time you sat down on a regular weeknight with a clear head and energy to spare and asked yourself what you are building? Not on vacation, not in theory. A regular Tuesday with nothing planned and a mind that could still think. You cannot remember. That is not an accident. That is the architecture completing its cycle. Sustained effort across a full day tends to degrade the capacity for the kind of thinking purpose requires. By evening, the faculty is spent. The schedule, the other self, the rotation, the exhaustion. 4 systems. 1 loop, and the loop seals itself every single night. Now you know the schedule, the operator, the rotation, and the fuel. But I have told you more than I should. Because there is one condition where the entire thing collapses, and I cannot stop you from creating it. The schedule fills the hours. The other self argues for the next task. The rotation prevents commitment. The exhaustion seals the day. 4 parts, 1 architecture. And it has been running long enough that you no longer choose any of it. You do not choose to fill every slot. Your hand does it before you think. You do not choose to switch projects. The plateau triggers the switch. You do not choose to collapse on the couch at night. The depletion delivers you there. Hypnotic rhythm hardened all four into a single system that sustains itself. The system no longer needs me. It runs on its own. There is one thing the architecture cannot survive. The man who wrote the source text forced me to admit it. A mind occupied with a definite purpose leaves no gap for me to enter. Definiteness of purpose is not motivation. It is not a new system. It is not a morning routine. It is one decision that cuts off every other option. The word decide means to cut off. You have never done it. When a mind decides, the schedule reorganizes around one aim. The other self loses its leverage because there is no next task to offer. There is only the task. The rotation stops because there is nothing to rotate to. The exhaustion becomes targeted instead of scattered. But definiteness does not arrive inside a packed schedule. It surfaces in the gap, in the stillness, in the 1 hour your architecture was built to prevent. The void is not comfortable. Sitting with the question of what you are building feels like regression to a man who has never stopped moving. But it is the only ground that matters. I have shown you every part of the machine. You built it. You fueled it. And you are the only one who can shut it down. Which brings me to the one move I do not want you to make. The architecture runs because you never stop. The counter move is to stop. Tonight, you are going to do one thing that breaks the loop. It will take less than 5 minutes. The other self will fight it. That is how you will know it is working. First, cancel or block 1 hour tonight. No task, no input, no phone, no plan. Sit with one question only. What exactly am I building and why? Do not answer it quickly. Do not fill the silence with a list of goals. Sit in it. The discomfort you feel is the void. It is the space the architecture was built to prevent. Let it exist. Second, write the answer in one sentence. 1. If it takes more than one sentence, you have not decided yet. That is the finding, not the failure. A decision that requires a paragraph is not a decision. It is a wish dressed as a plan. Third, tomorrow morning, open the planner. Before you fill a single slot, read that sentence. Every slot that does not serve it stays empty. The other self will present the first task before your feet hit the floor. It will say this is unproductive. It will say you are falling behind. You will recognize that voice now. You met it in this video. You know who it works for. The schedule will try to fill itself tomorrow morning. The other self will argue for every slot. The rotation will offer a new project by lunchtime. The exhaustion will seal another day by nightfall. You will know exactly what is happening. Whether you stop it is not my concern. I have shown you the machine. What you do with it is yours.